The lap that left NASCAR speechless. An 11-year-old boy walked out of his father's memorial service, showed up at Charlotte Motor Speedway, climbed into a neon green number 18 race car, and did something that stunned the entire NASCAR world. Because the real story is not just that Brexton Busch drove that night. The real story is what that drive revealed, what the cameras barely captured, and why one quiet detail from that session may have said more about Kyle Busch's legacy than any tribute speech ever could. Before we go any further, if you love NASCAR stories that go deeper than the headlines, subscribe to the channel right now. We cover the moments, the meaning, and the details most people miss. And trust me, by the end of the story, you may look at the number 18 in a completely different way. There are racing moments that feel important while they are happening, and then there are moments that do not fully hit you until you step back and realize what you just witnessed. What happened at Charlotte Motor Speedway was one of those moments. It did not happen on a packed Sunday afternoon in front of a roaring grandstand. It did not happen under the pressure of a Cup Series points race. It happened quietly, almost gently, in the middle of grief, in the middle of shock, and in the middle of a week the NASCAR world still has not recovered from. The memorial service for Kyle Busch had just ended. Family members were still carrying the weight of fresh loss. Friends, teammates, competitors, and people across the sport were still trying to process the impossible. This was not the kind of day anyone imagined would include a race car on track. But only hours later, Brexton Busch was at Charlotte Motor Speedway, seated in a neon green number 18 legend car, doing lap after lap. Not for attention, not for a photo opportunity, not for a staged tribute. He was there to drive. And the second those images started making their way across social media, people stopped. Fans stopped. Reporters stopped. Drivers stopped. Because everybody had the same reaction. How was he there already? How does an 11-year-old carry that kind of heartbreak and still find the strength to do the one thing most connected to the person he just lost? That question is what makes this story unforgettable. And stay with me, because the answer may be even more powerful than the moment itself. Tuesday night at Charlotte Motor Speedway did not begin as one of those giant headline-grabbing nights. On the surface, it was simply another practice session, another step toward the Cookout Summer Shootout, another evening at one of the most important short-track proving grounds in American racing. But when the Speedway's official account posted photos from the track, people instantly realized this was not just another practice. There was Brexton Busch in that bright green number 18. Helmet on, car rolling, eyes forward, back to work. That image alone carried enormous weight. Because for most people, grief looks like stopping. It looks like silence. It looks like pulling away from the thing that hurts because it reminds you too much of what you lost. But for racers, and especially for the Busch family, racing has never just been a sport. It is language. It is memory. It is identity. It is where lessons were taught, where time was shared, where love often looked like competition, instruction, challenge, and belief. And that is why this lap mattered so much. Brexton did not just return to the track. He returned to the place where his father's voice still echoes in every habit, every setup choice, every line through the corner, every restart, every tiny detail people outside racing never notice. That car was not just a machine. It was a connection. Now, if you are not deeply familiar with legend cars, let me explain why this is more than a child sitting in something small and simple. These are serious race cars. They are compact, yes, but they are quick, sharp, demanding, and unforgiving. Styled after 1930s era coupes and powered by motorcycle-based engines, they can produce real speed and real consequences. These are not toys. These are not practice props. These are discipline builders. They teach racecraft, car control, patience, aggression, timing, and feel. They are often one of the earliest real proving grounds for drivers who want to reach the top. And here is where this story gets even deeper. Some of NASCAR's most recognizable names came through this world. Chase Elliott, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Kyle Busch. The pipeline from small car to big stage is very real. That means when Brexton climbed into a legend car at Charlotte, he was not just driving laps in a family ritual. He was stepping into a path that has shaped champions. But to understand why fans reacted so strongly, you have to remember exactly who Kyle Busch was to the sport. He was not just famous. He was not just successful. He was one of the defining competitors of his era. A two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion. The all-time leader in combined wins across NASCAR's top 3 national series. A driver feared by rivals, respected by peers, and impossible to ignore. Kyle Busch did not simply participate in NASCAR history. He altered it. He won with speed. He won with edge. He won with confidence that bordered on defiance. He won in ways fans loved and hated, sometimes at the exact same time. And that is what made him unforgettable. The greatest competitors force you to feel something every time they show up. Kyle Busch did that for years. Whether you rooted for him or rooted against him, you watched. Because you knew something could happen whenever he was in the field. And then, in a turn nobody was ready for, the sport lost him. The shock of it did not just hit one garage, one team, or one generation of fans. It hit the entire industry. Tributes started appearing everywhere. Statements were released. Photos resurfaced. Clips of wins, clashes, interviews, and celebrations spread across the internet. People were not just mourning the driver. They were mourning the energy he brought, the standard he represented, and the idea that he would always be there somewhere in the racing world, chasing the next finish line. That is why what happened at Charlotte landed with such force. Came too soon to feel routine, too personal to feel public, and too symbolic to feel accidental. And here is the part most people missed at first. It was not only Brexton's presence that turned heads. It was the atmosphere around him. Several of the other legend cars in that session carried decals honoring Kyle Busch. Think about what that means. Kids, young drivers, families, crews, people who are still at the beginning of their own racing journeys took the time to mark their cars with a tribute to a man whose path they all understood. That kind of respect is not manufactured. It does not come from a press release. It comes from meaning something real to the culture of the sport. So when Brexton rolled onto that track, he was not doing it in isolation. He was surrounded by a silent message from the racing community. We know what your father meant. We know what this moment means. We see you. And if that does not hit you, this next part will. Brexton Busch has not spent the last few years casually circling racetracks because of his last name. He has been competing, really competing, winning races, building instincts, learning how to handle pressure, developing into the kind of young driver people inside the sport have already begun watching seriously. In one recent season alone, he stacked win after win across multiple disciplines, showing that this is not just about inheritance. It is about ability. That matters because legacy in racing is never automatic. The name gets you noticed. It does not keep you in front. It does not teach you throttle control. It does not give you timing. It does not help you save tires, hold a line, or make the right move in traffic. Talent still has to show up. Work still has to show up. And by every sign so far, Brexton is showing both. Now pause for a second and think about the emotional load in this story. This is an 11-year-old carrying personal grief in public while also standing in the shadow of one of the sport's biggest names. Most people would understand if he stepped away for a while. Most people would expect hesitation. Most people would not question it for a second. But instead, he got back in the car. That decision tells you something. Maybe not everything, but something important. It tells you racing is not just where his father built a career. It is where Brexton still feels close to him. And if you stay with me, the next layer of this story may be the one you remember most. Because returning to the track is one thing. Returning in the number 18 is another. Numbers in racing are never just numbers. They become symbols. They hold memories. They carry identity across seasons, sponsors, victories, heartbreak, and legacy. For Kyle Busch, the 18 became part of the image people instantly recognized. So when Brexton appears in a number 18 of his own, especially in a moment like this, it lands as something bigger than branding. Feels like a continuation, not a replacement, not a copy, a continuation. And that word matters, because this story is not about trying to turn a child into a legend overnight. It is about seeing the first visible signs of a legacy refusing to disappear. That is why fans are so emotionally invested already. They are not just watching a young racer with a famous last name. They are watching the earliest chapters of something that feels connected to NASCAR history in real time. Every lap now carries extra meaning. Every race will be viewed through two lenses: the development of a young driver and the preservation of a family legacy that suddenly became much more fragile and much more precious. You can already feel the questions building. Can Brexton really go all the way? Can he handle the attention? Can he carry the expectations that come with being Kyle Busch's son? Can he build something that is unmistakably his own while still honoring what came before him? Those are massive questions, and nobody can answer them yet. But what we can say is this: the first response to overwhelming loss revealed something remarkable about him. He did not run from racing. He ran toward it. That is not normal. That is not easy. And that is why people cannot stop talking about it. Now let's go a little deeper into why Charlotte matters specifically. Charlotte Motor Speedway is not just another venue. It sits close to the emotional center of stock car racing. It is a place where the sport's heartbeat feels especially strong. Teams are nearby. Histories overlap there. Development programs, young drivers, future stars, and established names all move through that orbit. So for Brexton's return to happen there, in that environment with those eyes watching, made the moment even more symbolic. This was not some anonymous backlot track where nobody would notice. This was NASCAR country. This was a place where meaning multiplies. And the Cookout Summer Shootout itself only adds to the significance. For many young drivers, that series is not just another set of races. It is a stage, pressure cooker, a showcase. Families and teams pay close attention because it can reveal who is learning quickly, who is maturing, who is adapting, and who might have something special. That means Brexton's upcoming appearance in that environment is going to draw more attention than ever before. But here is the tricky part, and this is where the story becomes more complicated than a simple feel-good narrative. Attention can inspire, can also suffocate. A lot of young racers never get the luxury of anonymity, but very few carry a spotlight this powerful at such a young age. Every result will be interpreted. Every move will be analyzed. A good finish will fuel headlines. A mistake will fuel different headlines. That is the cost of legacy in a public sport. The same name that opens doors also creates noise. So one of the biggest questions is not just whether Brexton can drive. It is whether he can develop naturally while the world tries to fast-forward his story. And that is why the Charlotte moment mattered so much beyond the lap itself. Felt unforced. Felt pure. It felt like one young driver doing the only thing that made sense to him before the outside world had time to shape the narrative. That purity is rare, and fans recognized it instantly. Let me ask you something. If you had just gone through the hardest day of your life, would you return to the place most connected to the person you lost? Or would it hurt too much? That is the heart of this story, because Brexton did not choose distance. He chose proximity. He chose memory. He chose motion. And that decision may end up becoming one of the defining early images of his racing life. As the photos spread, reactions came in from every direction. Some people saw strength. Some saw heartbreak. Some saw courage. Others saw a child doing what racers do when words fail them. In this sport, many of the deepest emotions are not spoken. They are driven. They show up in the way a helmet goes on, the way a car rolls out, the way a lap is completed when everything inside you says you should not be able to focus. That is why this was not just another social media post. It became a symbol almost instantly. And then there is the broader legacy question. Kyle Busch leaves behind one of the most decorated resumes in NASCAR history, but legacy in sports is not built by statistics alone. It is also built by the stories people carry forward. The image of Brexton at Charlotte will now live beside the highlight reels and trophy counts because it captures something deeper than achievement. It captures continuity in the face of loss. That kind of image becomes permanent. Years from now, if Brexton continues climbing the ladder, people will come back to this night. They will say this was one of the first times the future of the Busch legacy became visible in a completely new way. Not because he won a race that night, not because there was some dramatic finish, but because he showed up. Sometimes showing up becomes the loudest statement of all. And do not miss the timing here. Returning so quickly did not erase grief. It exposed just how intertwined grief and racing can be. For some people, healing begins with stepping away. For others, healing begins with returning to the place that still feels alive with memory. In Brexton's case, it looked like a racetrack. That is what made the story resonate far beyond hardcore NASCAR fans. Even people who do not follow every race can understand what that means. A child doing the thing he shared with his father not long after saying goodbye is the kind of image that cuts through sports and reaches something more human. Still, the racing side of the story should not be ignored. Because if Brexton keeps progressing, the conversation is only going to intensify. Every young driver with visible talent gets projections thrown at them too early. Cup Series someday. Future star. Next big name. The internet always races ahead of reality. But in Brexton's case, those conversations are going to happen whether people want them to or not. And yes, the obvious question is already out there. Could he one day reach the NASCAR Cup Series? It is a huge leap from an 11-year-old in a legend car to the top level of stock car racing. And anybody who knows the sport understands how difficult that road really is. Talent is only part of it. Timing matters. Development matters. Opportunities matter. Sponsorship matters. Competition gets harder at every step. Plenty of gifted kids never make it all the way. But when a young driver has both results and racing bloodlines, people naturally start imagining the future. That is just how this sport works. It is why every lap from this point on will carry added intrigue. And here is another layer that makes the story so compelling. Brexton is not just racing with a famous name behind him. He is now racing with a deeply emotional national audience around him. That changes the stakes of every appearance. Fans are not simply checking box scores. They are watching for signs. Signs of poise. Signs of progress. Signs of resemblance. Signs of difference. Signs that the story is still moving. That kind of emotional investment can create something powerful. Can also create impossible expectations. Which is why the people around him matter so much now. Family, mentors, crew members, coaches. The environment around a young driver determines whether talent grows steadily or gets crushed by pressure. The next few years are not just about where Brexton races. They are about how carefully that journey is handled. Because one thing should be clear, this story deserves patience. It deserves room to breathe. It deserves space for Brexton to become who he becomes, not who the internet wants him to become by next week. Even so, moments like Charlotte make patience difficult because they feel larger than development charts and career plans. They feel cinematic. They feel almost too symbolic to be real. An 11-year-old in a neon green number 18, circling Charlotte hours after a memorial service for his father. If someone wrote that in a movie script, people might say it was too on the nose, too perfect, too emotionally direct. But real life sometimes delivers scenes no screenwriter would dare pitch. And this one came with another quiet truth underneath it. Racing families understand that the track can be both brutal and healing. It is where risk lives, but it is also where belonging lives. It is where pressure lives, but also where purpose lives. For the Busch family, that duality now sits at the center of everything. So when Brexton rolled out, maybe it was not about proving toughness. Maybe it was not about making a statement at all. Maybe it was the most natural thing he could do. Maybe driving was the closest thing to being near his father again. If that is true, then the moment becomes even more powerful. Because then it was never about the crowd. It was never about the cameras. It was never even about us watching. It was about connection. And that may be why so many people who saw the photos felt something instantly without fully knowing how to explain it. Racing fans are used to tributes. They are used to decals, helmet paint schemes, moments of silence, and pre-race ceremonies. But this felt different. This was not ceremony. This was continuation in motion. The more you think about it, the more extraordinary it becomes. An entire community grieving. Young drivers honoring a legend with decals. A son returning to the track almost immediately. A number that carries history. A venue that amplifies meaning. a future suddenly wrapped inside a present full of pain. That combination is what turned a simple practice session into one of the most talked about moments in the sport. And we still have not reached the most important point of all. The most important point is not whether Brexton becomes a cup driver one day. It is not whether he wins in the number 18. It is not whether he eventually builds a resume that people compare to his father's. The most important point is that legacy is already happening. Not later, not someday, already. Legacy is not only what is written in record books. Legacy is what survives in habits, choices, courage, and instinct. Legacy is a child who knows where to go when the world no longer makes sense. Legacy is a racetrack that becomes a place of remembrance. Legacy is a community that recognizes the weight of a moment without needing it explained. That is why Brexton's lap mattered. And that is why people will keep talking about it. Because deep down, everyone understood that they were seeing more than a kid in a race car. They were seeing grief, resilience, identity, and history all sharing the same piece of asphalt. So what happens next? That is the question hanging over this entire story. The next race will be watched differently. The next introduction will sound different. The next time he straps in, more people will notice. And somewhere in every one of those future moments, this night at Charlotte will linger in the background. Will Brexton Busch make it to the top level of NASCAR one day? Nobody knows. Anyone telling you they know for sure is guessing. But what we do know is that the qualities people search for in future drivers are already starting to show themselves in ways no one could fake. Composure, commitment, familiarity with pressure, a natural tie to the culture of the sport. And now, something even deeper than ambition, purpose. Purpose changes people. Purpose sharpens effort. Purpose gives hard days a direction. If Brexton carries that forward, then what happened at Charlotte may one day be remembered as more than an emotional return. It may be remembered as the night NASCAR saw the first unmistakable sign that the Busch story was not ending. It was changing, and that might be the detail that leaves the biggest mark of all. Because endings are what everyone expected. Instead, they saw movement. They saw a beginning hidden inside heartbreak. They saw a number still alive on track. They saw a child carry pain in the only language he may have trusted enough to use. And they saw a future that suddenly felt possible, even through loss. So now I want to hear from you. When you saw Brexton Busch back in that number 18 at Charlotte, what did it say to you? Was it strength? Was it legacy? Was it healing? Or was it the first real glimpse of a future nobody is fully ready to talk about yet? And here is the bigger question. If Brexton one day reaches the NASCAR Cup Series, should he carry the number 18 all the way there? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this is one of those stories that means something different to every fan. If the story moved you, subscribe to the channel for more NASCAR coverage that goes beyond the surface. Because the headlines tell you what happened, but the details tell you why it mattered. And in this case, one quiet night at Charlotte may have told us more about Kyle Busch's legacy than any victory lane celebration ever could.